What's going on, guys? It's Rest, and in today's video I want to go over my updated Hyperion Amara build. I've been rocking this build for very long at this point, and it is an insanely fun build to play. Yes, it is a Ties That Binds build, so if you don't want that, I understand, but I actually do have a phase cast build video on my channel if you would like to check that one out if you're getting tired of Ties That Bind. But if you want a build that can do literally everything in the game, easily add clear boss, and you really don't have to swap off of anything, this is definitely the build for you. This is all around one of Amara's best builds, and I think you guys are gonna love it. But as always, my builds are located in my Discord channel if you'd like to download them. The link to the Discord will be in the description. If you download the build, enjoyed the video, found it helpful in any way, remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It's not needed, but it really helps me out and I truly appreciate it. With all that being said, let's get right into the build. Alright, so you see we're running all SMGs. That has always been the theme of this Hyperion cat build. So starting off, I have the proprietary license right here with on accident the next two magazines have 100% bonus incendiary damage. This is a very good gun. This came from the new DLC. Essentially, this is a gun that is just a all-around gun. The red text literally says a little from column A and a little from column B. This is basically a Torg, Vladov, Hyperion, Dahl, just all the manufacturers into one, and it applies sticky bombs. It ricochets like crazy, and it is insanely good. It is one of the best mobbing weapons in the game now, and it is super fun to use. This paired with all of our other gear is gonna be an absolute treat for this Amara build. But then we have the Smog SMG right here with on accident next to magazines have 100% bonus corrosive damage. This SMG is a workhorse SMG, and if you don't really know what that means, essentially it shoots slow but it hits hard, and it's just very consistent. What this gun does, when the weapon shield is up, the damage is actually amplified, and when it's amplified you get a lot more damage. If you're playing back and not just straight up running and gunning like crazy, this SMG puts in work for you. It will straight up just delete enemies, especially flesh enemies, since it is incendiary, and it is a super fun gun to use for mobbing. You can swap between the Smog and the license right here for whatever you're doing. This is more of a chaotic running gun, and this is more of a stay back and slay some enemies. Just whichever one you prefer, whichever playstyle, you can use whichever one you want. But then I have a hyper focus right here on accident. Weapon damage is increased by 100% for a short time. This is very good for things like the takedown. Obviously, the hyper focus is still one of the best weapons in the game, and this anointment and corrosion is just gonna let you eat through armor insanely quick, and it's still just a very fun gun to use. Now you see, you actually have an incendiary hyper focus over here as well with the phase slam anoint. This is your quote-unquote grave ward killing weapon. It just straight up destroys grave ward. It is very fun, and all you gotta do is just be sure to put phase slam on and you wreck him. But then I have a handsome jackhammer right here, and you might be wondering why do I have a handsome jackhammer. But I have an anointment where after using phase cast, weapon damage increased by 250% for a short time. If you don't know, the handsome jackhammer actually did get buffed to do more damage, and the handsome jackhammer before the buff was already decent. Like, you can actually go back to some of my older videos and watch be killing bosses with it, but they buffed it, and now it's actually pretty good on Mayhem 10. It's not only good for boss damage, it's also pretty good for mobbing. Once you use the anoint on it, this thing actually just becomes insane. What I like to do is use phase cast to throw it, debuff an enemy, and then just start spamming reloading these things, and the boss is just dies. It's super funny, it's super gimmicky. Obviously it's not as great as some of the other things, but it is super fun to use, and I would highly recommend trying it out. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to, but it is fun, and that's why I'm including it. But then I have a redistribute right here as well. If you like using the good old redistributor for ad clearing, I have on accident next to magazines I have 100% bonus radiation damage. This is also another very good mobbing weapon if you want to use something over like the license and the Smog. But personally, I like these two better. But if you want to use this, I'm including it with it. So for class mod, I have a phase zerker. If you don't know what the phase zerker does, essentially when you use any axial, you get max rush stacks, you get more gun damage, and you get more axial cooling rate because of those rush stacks, and you get an additional 5 rush stacks to buff all this stuff I just said. So we're getting 29% weapon damage, 37% more SMG damage, and 54% more Hyperion weapon critical hit damage. Obviously, all these SMGs are Hyperion, hence the name of the build, Hyperion Cat. But this will straight up make these SMGs even more stronger than they already are. You don't really need this class mod to make them super strong, but this is the icing on the cake. Like, it just takes this build to another level, and you can just wreck everything. But for artifact, Pearl of Enough Knowledge, 13% more fire, 54% more magazine size. Pearl of Enough Knowledge, really good artifact. We all know that at this point. You just get an insane amount of damage just for shooting an enemy, and you just can melt with this thing. Then have It's Piss grenade with all the different 4 ASEs. As always, you can use whatever grenade you want. I just like the It's Piss to apply the debuff, and having all the different ASEs on something like Amara is much more important than what the grenade actually does. The It's Piss is just a very good balance of that, so you can get more damage and apply debuffs with it. For shields, Transformer Shield. Again, for this build, you can kind of really use whatever shield you want to. You can also run an Ult God. I just like the Transformer Shield for this build for more defensive capabilities. But again, all 4 different ASCs for whatever you're getting yourself into. But now getting into the skill trees, we're putting 1 point in Do Harm and 1 point Violent Tapestry to help keep our rush stacks up. You might be wondering why we took all the points out of Do Harm, because they actually changed this now to where Do Harm does not affect Ties to Bind. And Ties to Bind is the active skill we're going to be using on top of Stillness of Mind. But Do Harm is no longer, insanely good anymore as it used to be. The only reason I put 1 point in is so we can just keep our rush stacks up when we get a kill to help keep our other buffs going. But that's why. But then 3 points of fast hands, so we have a reload speed, mode speed, and weapon swap speed. Weapon swap speed, reload speed are very good for these builds. They're SMGs, you kind of just run and gun with them, and it's super fun to use. 3 points of Transcend, so we get more accuracy and more critical hit damage. Always a very nice thing to have on any character, and this is definitely one of Amara's best skills. 5 points of Alacrity, so we get a lot more reload speed based on the amount of rush stacks we have. Very good. Reloading your guns is to get back into the fight is going to increase your DPS. Plus, it's just nice to be able to just reload a gun quick. 1 point Restless, because we gotta get down to the bottom. This is giving you 5% more cooldown rate. This is virtually doing nothing, so to speak, but with the 1 point it is doing a slight bit amount, but you probably won't even notice what it's doing. So if you want to put in like Violent Tapestry right here, you can, but honestly I just like to throw it in Restless. 1 point in Ascendant, so we can buff our Axe Skull Augment, which like I said will be Stillness of Mind, so enemies can get locked in the air longer. 3 points from Rest, so we get 12% more fire rate, 44% more charge speed. The 12% fire rate is what you really want, so we can easily keep proccing our Proven Enough Knowledge, which already has fire rate on it. And a fire rate on SMGs is obviously really good because you can just spam them like crazy and do a lot of damage. 3 points in Lay Bare, so we get 25% more damage to whatever our axe skill hits. This is what I'm using for bossing. So like I said, Phase Cast is going to proc this for your bossing. So now not only are you going to get 250% more damage with this, you're also applying 25% debuff, which is good. Same with Phase Slam. You can hit anyone with Phase Slam and you get more damage with that, plus the debuff. And even this one right here too, if you want to use this, you can get more damage. But then 3 points of Raz, we get 20% more gun damage, 20% more after we pop axe skill. Really good skill to have. More damage is always nice. 1 point Remnant, so we can get an overkill orb to spawn. At some points, sometimes this overkill orb just doesn't the same amount of damage, you can just delete an enemy. So that's always fun. If you want to put this somewhere else, you can, since we're not really using a super powerful weapon. You can definitely put it somewhere else, but that's just where I'm putting it. 1 point Avatar, so we can pop our Phase Grass twice for cooldown, and we get 10 more rush stacks. This is what makes Amara's Ackler capabilities absolutely insane. Just being able to have that Phase Grasp up is absurd, and 10 more rush stacks is obviously buffing your reload speed and all your other damage and cooldown rate. Then getting into Fist of Elements, I have 1 point Infusion, so we can buff our projectiles on our projectile weapons, and then 3 points Steady Hand, so we get more handling and accuracy, which is very good for SMG builds. 5 points in Anima, so we can buff our status effect damage, duration, and our active skill element status effect damage. Again, very good. 5 points of Tempest to get more elemental damage and 20% more shock damage. Once again, more elemental damage, absolutely insane, and you just can destroy with this. Now I have 1 point Illuminated Fist, so we can buff our melee damage for 75%. You got to get down to the bottom somehow, but now since melee is actually scale, this can actually be very fun to just run up and finish an enemy off, and it also does whatever your axe skill element's doing. So you can put whatever element you want to shock, incinerate, or corrosive, because we're all going to have access to all three, and this can be kind of fun. 1 point Dread, so we can buff our gun damage for 15% when we Phase Grasp an enemy, plus whenever we kill an enemy, our guns are instantly reloaded. Very good Amara skill to have. 1 point Dupe Well, so we buff our elemental weapons magazine size by 20%. 3 points Indiscriminate, so our bullets can ricochet, and also when we Phase Grasp target, our bullets have a chance to ricochet even more, and they do even more damage. Very good for Amara's ad clearing. Obviously Ties the Bound already clears out ads as it is, but adding this on top of that, you just clear out all the mobbing areas and just like snap the finger. It's actually crazy. 5 points Sustainment, so we get 20% of lifesteal based on whatever our elemental damage with our weapons are doing. 5 points may be a little overkill for this, but I like having it. And not only are you getting a ton of damage with this build, you're also going to get a ton of survivability between this and some other skills that we're taking. 1.4 Swift Stressing, so we can do 18% more damage or whatever on top of what we're already doing based on our axe skill element. Again, we can use whatever axe skill element we want to, so we'll have access to all three. So in the next skill tree, we have 3 points of personal space right here, so we can get bonus damage close to an enemy. We're going to be running SMG. We're always going to be very close to the enemies for the most part, and this damage you get from this is absolutely insane for 3 skill points. Next, you have 3 points of clarity due to our class mod, which is giving us pretty good health generation on top. This is going to help on top of what our survivability already is. Then 2 points of root to rise, so we can get down to the next skill tier. So we get 16% more max health, which is going to pair really well with sustainment. So you're getting a ton more life still back. But then I have 1 point in helping hands right here. So now we're using our action skill. We get 12% damage reduction, which is actually pretty good for just using our action skill, which we're going to be doing all the time, which is absolutely insane. Now, as said, you do have access to Blight Tiger, Shock, and Incinerate, which is very, very good. And if you just look really quick, obviously with all the skills, you're getting a ton of damage. You can use your axe skill twice, which is proccing all your damage perks. Even your anointments on your guns are getting procced. All your damage right here from elemental damage is absolutely insane. Then on top of that, yeah, your tankiness with like things like Root to Rise, Helping Hands, Clarity as well. Sustainment right here. You're going to be running the Transformer Shield, which is probably one of the best tankiest shields in the game. And you just straight up can't die, and you can destroy everything. So that is the level 60 Hyperion Amara build. Still to this day, this is one of Amara's best builds, and the mobbing capabilities is actually insane. And on top of the bossing capabilities, it's just no contender for this. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As I said in the beginning, this build is located in my Discord channel if you'd like to download it. Link to the Discord is in the description. If you download the build, enjoy the video, find it helpful in any way, remember to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It's not needed, but it really helps me out, and I truly appreciate it. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.